In this video, the main goal to achieve is to explain which the nexuses through the new Korean architects generation are, explaining also the differences found in the works and their philosophy about architecture as well. All of them have studied in Sungkyunkwan University, Department of Architecture. The first is Jeong Jae Heon. His own firm is one of the most important studios in Korea, currently especially because of his delicate designs in housing combining with some works related with public contests as university, women's center, or music faculty. The second studio is called JOHO Architecture, with its main architect, Jong Lee. He won the 2010 Korea Young Architect Awards given by the Ministry of Culture, Sport and Tourism. He has been selected as one of the world's top 10 emerging architecture firms by Architectural Records Design, Vanguard 2013. The last studio we are explaining in this video is ISM Architects, formed by Jong Lee and Kyung Lee, bachelors in architecture from Sungkyunkwan University before getting the master's in architecture from MIT in Massachusetts. They combine their projects in the studio and at the same time they are also teaching at the university. About their publications, some of them are remarkable. Books including Story of Boston in Architecture in 2012, New York Story in Architecture in 2014, and High Rise Manhattan in 2015. In 2010, ISM Architectural Institute was established in Korea and from their beginning designed 33 houses and 10 commercial buildings. South Korea backgrounds. Roh Tae-woo became president for the 13th presidential term in the first direct presidential election in 16 years. Although Roh was from a military background and one of the leaders of Cheon's coup d'etat, the inability of the opposition leaders Kim Dae-jung and Kim Jung-sam to agree on a unified candidacy. Roh was officially inaugurated in February 1988. The government set out to eliminate past vestiges of authoritarian rule by revising laws and decrees to fit democratic provisions. Shortly after Roh's inauguration, the Seoul Olympics took place, raising South Korea's international recognition and also greatly influencing foreign policy. Roh's government announced the official unification plan, Nordpolitik, and established diplomatic ties with the Soviet Union, China, and countries in East Europe. In 1997, the nation suffered a severe financial crisis, and the government approached the International Monetary Fund for relief funds. Industrial reconstruction of the big conglomerate chaebols was pursued. A national pension system was established in 1998. Educational reforms were carried out. Government support for the IT field was increased. In 2002, the Football World Cup was celebrated between Japan and South Korea, hosting the first World Cup in Asia, in a closer relationship about Japanese and Korean, trying to live to each other in a better way. The event was successful, setting both countries in the top about organizing such these spectacles. Statements, philosophy of the works, and influences. All these architects have the purpose of reinterpreting the Korean traditional spaces through various patterns and repetitive units composed of easily affordable raw materials that can be commonly found. The use of material is another transversal characteristic in these studios. They try to search new ways of building with traditional materials in modern building systems. Furthermore, they are working on a new section in their studios about searching new ways of using and treating the material in order to take advantages of their properties. I wanted to leave pure, transparent spaces inside the field building when I first designed it. That's why I made the halls, thinking they would be completely transparent. But then, interestingly, the halls began to be filled with darkness by shadows as the sun rose. I used opaque reflective glass for its exterior to create the field images. The glass carried the scenes of the forest in the front, as well as the images of the sky and the earth. ISM architects are looking for new ways of using the material, understood as a unit of architecture, and test the system, which is a large unit of architecture. The material is the basis of the whole architectural work, but the architecture has natural materials to be used as wood or clay, and artificial materials as well, as polymers, used more and more due to its thermal properties. The system itself is the body of architecture. It is a combination of constituents with certain laws to realize the purpose of the construction and architecture. All of them are focused on the client's requirements, landscape, program, and space. The client's opinion is something that the studio always bear in mind. What are the similarities and differences in organization of site plan and space layout? We can explain these issues if we focus on two specific buildings. The first is a house with two constructions, perpendicularly disposed, creating one space between them as a public courtyard, while in the back side of the house, the E-form creates two private gardens that can be observed from three sides of the house. One of them works as a second living room that can be opened especially in warmest months. In the other volume, the architect thinks about a mix between a traditional Japanese courtyard and a square in the building to observe all around. It can be considered as a semi-public garden, but it doesn't have the same hierarchy, because this doesn't connect two or more parts of the house. It is just an open space. That is the real issue of this house actually. Continuing with Jeong Jae Heon works, it is interesting to talk about Oryugdo Gwang restaurant. It is one floor building, but the construction was made in a slope near the sea, so this is why it seems taller than it is. Here we can see how clear the structure is, only with pillars in the above spaces, so light, while the bottom is so heavy and brute. They are representing the two worlds, the stereotomy and the tectonic world. In Western countries, we have some example of this kind of architecture, especially the Mediterranean, with works from architects as Alberto Campo Baeza or Alejandro de la Sota in Spain. This structure is true. There are no elements which work as a complement. Everything is necessary. This structure is expected to become a house that calmly hides inside the valley while looking out the open sea, rather than expose itself beyond the sea lines. In the plan, we can notice that it follows some schemes and master lines from Hanok as we have been able to see before. The full and empty spaces are also a common way of work in this studio. The water in the sea and in the project has a relevant role in the project, reflecting the nature, making a special microclimate, and make the light more powerful. The chosen projects by JOHO Architecture are Platform L and Herma Parking Building, two public buildings. The first one is located in Gangnam-gu, Seoul, where is the Seoul main costumes intersection in Yonghyun-dong. The architect in charge was Yong-hon Lee. With its urban program mostly centered on business and commercial functions, Gangnam maintains a relatively weak cultural base. By becoming a new cultural platform in Gangnam, Platform L aims to transform this area into a cultural hub. Furthermore, because the site is classified as a general residential area rather than a commercial district, the floor area is relatively low. These limitations have been overcome by creating a space that could be used for various purposes. The site's irregular geometry, an irregular trapezoid, and being surrounded on three sides presented was a unique design challenge. The design of two independent masses with a central courtyard opening to the west proved to be the most efficient use of space. Urban planning in Gangnam is like to be added to a grid system. The project has three entrances or accesses, one per each side. This side is likely to be a residential instead of a commercial area. There is a rooftop garden in which some events are celebrated. In summer, the floors are used for offices and museum, one usage per each wing. While in the lobby, the museum is extended, it is also located the art shop. The Leaf Hall is the underground multi-purpose venue which settles diverse programming for larger audiences. This spacious setting features 8-meter ceilings and is equipped with full audio-video capabilities as reconfigurable setting with a high versatility. Their finishes are in white as cubes in order to offer additional gallery space. A moving wall system allows to be configured as a box theater, cinema or auditorium. Adjustable stage structure provides other usage as fashion shows or other ceremonies. The Hermar parking building has a huge plan in which the resulting 853 SQM structure is covered with 5 layers of over 635 polycarbonate panels and 930 stainless steel pieces, each varying length up to 12 meters long, spaced a few centimeters apart. The facade was coated in a violet hue plus special surface coating that makes it look like reflective glass. The building typology of the multi-story car park, the parking building, is often reduced to a simple structure without considering for the urban context or surroundings and disguised like a commercial facility. Those cases are not welcome in a city and ruin the city landscape. Korean garages typically look like rows or ramps or try to disguise themselves as concrete commercial buildings. Both models, says Lee, are eyesores. Lee grabbed the Hermar garage in Yongin in polycarbonate and stainless steel panels and accented its facade with ventilation holes inspired by car grills. The acute angle building feels a difficult site to create a dynamic street front presence, which has increased the value of its commercial spaces, says Claire Jacobson. The city identity is represented by the wall-covering signs, not the presence of space nor void. The massive box lamps clutter the city with the logic of capitalism that is composed of investment, lease and pre-sale, rather than the respective regional characteristics. The design of this project approach of the JOHO Architecture studio is driven by the desire to obtain an object that for the quality and the architectural image could become an urban landmark. They pretend to change the urban landscape through a proposition of a certain symbolically designed icon on a dry city. Two strategies have been developed to achieve this goal. The first, of a functional nature, has provided for the inclusion on the ground floor of commercial spaces able to accommodate high-yield functions. The second, mainly linked to aesthetic aspects, focus on the study of a high-tech envelope.
From ISM Architects, we chose 2 housing projects, one delimiting the plot and the other doesn't. The first is Mimung House, which is in an urban context in Seongnam-si, whose uses is residential and commercial in the first floor. The plot is in a cross of streets. It's a corner in which many people can be in certain times. This makes the building have 2 facades facing the road. As we can see, it looks like one building but with 2 facades. Due to these 2 uses, the building has 2 entrances, one public access to the cafe on the west part and one private entrance on the north part that also connects to the circulation piece. There is also a pedestrian alley on the back of the building. The cafe on the first floor has higher spaces than the residences due to its public use. It has an open visibility to the 4 sides of the building. On top of it, there are 3 floors. The first 2 are divided in 2 units each of them. All of them have big openings facing the south to get more light during the day. This makes the building more efficient in terms of energy. The last floor, the third, is designated to a private residence for the owner and it has a big terrace in the west direction. The second building is Kumseodan House. It is a single-family house located in Gapyeong. In this case, it is not in an urban context but a residential area with wide parcels to build in it, and lower density than in the first case. It has a 5 meters elevation difference between edges, located in the Ki-dong Hills. The mountains can be seen from the north side of the house. The wife of the owner said, "It is the challenge of this house to build an open house in the south yard with the northern scenery in the house." The south was the widest facade, while the north the narrowest. The house was centrally located in the parcels as a rectangle. The concept of this house was to seem like a geometry floating on the ground. All of them have the intention of getting the advantages and the genealogy of each side. There are no predetermined ways of setting the building rather than sustainability issues or attempts to get as much light as the building can due to its openings. It was said before, the transparency of modern buildings increases so as to the light got through these openings. The volume was divided into two different volumes connected by a service volume where the staircase was located. These two volumes are correspond to the public and private part of the ground floor plan's house. The main volume is added and removed some small volumes. These three added volumes correspond to the two bathrooms on the first floor and the staircase on the northern part of the house. All of them with an exterior stainless steel panel finish. The living room is located at a pivot point between the wide front yard and the narrow backyard, as if the house were a floating square or with a transparent membrane. The removed volume corresponds to the terraces. What are the similarities and differences in using the material? In Jeong Jae Heon architecture, we have already said that he controls the natural materials and their own expression, their essential values. In Yangpyeong Unfolding House, the outer finishes of the house use narrow and long bricks in a dark brown color that can dialogue with the scenery from autumn to spring, with zinc panels with narrow grooves on top. About Ongryudo Gawan restaurant, it is quite remarkable which architectural language the architect is using. It has some European influences in how he uses the material itself. He prefers clear material and a structure quite simple too. This structure is true, there are no elements which work as a complement. About JOHO Architecture, we can clearly see that they are interested in making the building, and then because of formal or other issues as summer or lightning, they design an envelope that is independent. It could be different, and the plans and sections remain as they are. In the first project, Platform Air, the transformation of the octagon into widened lattice, which emphasize horizontality and imply infinite expansion toward the horizon. This geometry is mixed with an ancient Korean type of window by using tenon joint to bind material. Three separate louvers were fitted together to platform L's lattice of intersecting side lines. Its facade covered with anodized aluminum panels helped to create a unique atmosphere. While in the other project, Heron Parking, when the field volume was based on the way of properties, the outer cover was designed under the subject of being light. Especially the external clad structure frame was manufactured with easily available zinc galvanized angle pipes. The polycarbonate, the main external clad material, could be imported at a low price through negotiation with material businesses. The external skin, the gratings, and the perforated stainless steel sheets have been linked to the main structure by means of galvanized steel tubular profiles. In other ways, ISM architects in Mimung House, each of the faces is made with a different materials and which of different tone according to the buildings next to it, because they have the same issue to be a residential space, but they follow the same linear rules for the composition. Also, the facades facing the interior of the block. While in the second project, the three main exterior finishes are stone, stainless steel panel, and aluminum curtain wall. What are the similarities and differences in movement and experience of space? In the Jeong Jae Heon houses, we can distinguish some primary statements which are repeated all over his work. The wall is not just only for dividing parts into two closed rooms, but it could work as an organizer inside a big space. It is talking about continuity in spaces. The reflection of the light in these natural materials makes them even more beautiful, expressing its own imperfections as natural ones. Keeping in mind that the division between public spaces and private spaces must be designed. About JOHO Architecture, it is certain that the flexibility of spaces is one of its main pros. Platform L combines diverse types of cultural spaces. In order to overcome the limitations of the site, the use of underground level was maximized. A performance hall with a capacity of 160 seats was built 20 meters underground in which various types of exhibitions, performances and parties can be held using retractable seating and moving wall system. One of the most concerned ideas about this project was to retain a sense of outdoor space throughout. The project reinterpreted the outdoors as a mediating space, and platforms are being to extend and link several functions as galleries or events in the live hall, as well as visit experiences in the art shop. ISM Architects. The two-slope roof is settling on top of the residence in order to get as much water as possible to carry to the green roof as terrace. It can be in certain times of problem because of amount of them when the heavy rains appears in Korea, but can be used for other purposes as well as bathroom water or for cleaning cars. One of the objectives of the project was to focus on building a southern house while creating a house with a view of the north to the mountains. From the very beginning, the wife of the owner said, "It is the challenge of this house to build an open house in the south yard with the northern scenery in the house." The intention was to bring seasonal changes to the interior by the extensive use of glass, which maximizes the vision of the mountain scenery at the same time it opens to the south. The living room, as the central space of the house, connects not only horizontally north and south facade, but also vertically the living room with the reading room on the first floor. To sum up, South Korean architects are looking to the past to modernize the Korean culture and architecture itself. They must go one step backwards to be able to go two steps forwards. They are looking to the past for inspiration. It happens at the same time as traditional Korean houses called hanoks have been disappearing since the 19th. As the K-pop represents Korean music to express its newfound wealth and national identity, K-architecture has been developed as well, and it is offering a contemporary take on traditional living. At first glance, the creative homes built in South Korea appear anything but old-fashioned. New lines, expressions, and glossy exteriors reflect a current aesthetic highly demanded by Korean people. But looking closely, we can find that many of them are drawing on Hanok principles. Hanok design reflects the Asian way of living very close to the floor. In Japan, it can be considered as the use of tatami. But hanoks have a distinctive design, heated floor. Internal courtyards are considered multi-purpose spaces of production and community compared with Japanese courtyard just for landscape and gardens to relax in. The relationship between the building's interior and its exterior is one of the principles that architects are very conscious of and hoping to achieve.